my name is Bethany Iser. I am fully recovered from schizophrenia, and I have been for 9 years. I am here today with a friend and mentor, Dr. Pierce Johnston, who is a professor at the University of Cincinnati School of Medicine and a medical doctor. We're here today to tell you a little bit about schizophrenia, what it is and what it's not. I remember being diagnosed with schizophrenia in March 3rd of 2007, and I was so sure that I did not have schizophrenia. I considered myself to be strong. I wasn't weak. I was a normal person, an ordinary person. I'd been a violinist, and I'd done research in college. How could I have schizophrenia? But what I didn't understand is that schizophrenia is a brain disease. It can affect anyone, rich people, poor people, geniuses like John Nash. It can affect people of every race. And that today schizophrenia can be treated with medications that restore the delicate chemical balance inside of your brain. Dr. Johnston, is schizophrenia a biological illness? I know it's a mental illness. But is it biological?
It is biological. It is a brain disorder in the same way that we have disorders of other parts of our body. Pneumonia is a lung disorder. A kidney infection is a disorder of the kidney. And so we have mental illnesses that are biological disorders of the brain.
Are there any treatments available for schizophrenia? If I'm diagnosed, do I need to spend the rest of my life locked away?
Well, traditionally, that was a treatment for hundreds of years. Asylums, ostracism, those were the ways that folks with mental disorders, brain disorders, were dealt with. Over the course of the last 50, 60 years, we've had increasingly good medications. Medications with fewer and fewer side effects associated, so that people who 100, 200 years ago were locked away, now can increasingly have a healthy, productive life. Symptoms treated to the point where they can engage in careers, have healthy relationships with friends and family, and live a happy, healthy life.
I can also attest to that, having been on medication for about 9 years and graduating from college, working, and having wonderful relationships with family again. I do not feel ashamed of having schizophrenia because today I understand that it's a brain disease, and I see it as like other brain diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease. You know, in these diseases, it's not anyone's fault. It's not because the patient is weak. It's simply a disorder of the brain, and there seems to be a double standard of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's versus other brain diseases called mental illnesses, such as schizophrenia.
Yeah, and these mental illnesses are simply brain disorders. I think that there may be a double standard like you described, just because the symptoms of schizophrenia can seem so strange or can make family members or people in society very uncomfortable. The idea of hearing voices or seeing things that aren't there, or having delusions or paranoia, I think makes society very uncomfortable.
I was amazed at how strong the stigma of schizophrenia was. I went to old friends and I told them, I used to have schizophrenia, but I recovered, and I've been recovered for a long time. I'm in college again, I'm getting A's. And I lost almost every one of those friends. You just mention the word schizophrenia and people are scared away. So I went through this period where I wasn't telling anybody what had really happened. I was hiding it. And I started to feel like I was living under the shadow where nobody really knew me. And that was one of the most difficult times of my life.
I think one of the things that I see that's interesting in the world of medicine, let's say you go out and get hit by a bus and break your femur. Or let's say you have a skiing accident. You go to the hospital, friends and family show up, they bring flowers, they bring casseroles, they bring cards.
Yes.
If you have a schizophrenic break and you end up in the hospital, half your friends and family don't know what to do. They disappear. They don't come around. They have no conception as to how to treat you. The other half that cares enough to want to help They don't know. Do they bring a card? Do they bring a casserole?
Mm-hmm.
Society doesn't talk about these illnesses, and so therefore they're in this shadow, and people don't know how to treat the loved ones, even when they're very much interested in trying to help.
I used to think that people with schizophrenia are dangerous, but the social media misrepresents schizophrenia. The reality is that your chances of being killed by a crazed stranger are smaller than your chances of dying in a plane crash, dying in an earthquake, or drowning in a bathtub. Statistically speaking, we are not dangerous.
No, and I would argue that folks with mental illness as a whole tend to be less violent than the general public.
Wow.
We get to see are occasional exceptions to that rule that are loudly broadcast in the news and in social media.
I'd like to say, if you're watching this video and you've just been diagnosed with schizophrenia, or perhaps you have a loved one with schizophrenia, it's so important for you to know that schizophrenia is a treatable disease of the brain. It's a physical disease like any other physical disease of the body, diabetes, pneumonia, having the flu, breaking a leg. It's treatable today. You can reclaim your life. The important thing is to stay in treatment, stay on your medication, follow your doctor's orders. Don't be ashamed of having this illness, and never give up until you found a treatment that works for you, that can enable you to reclaim your life.